At the time of independence, Indian economy was in total mess, especially in the agricultural production. We produce less than what we need to feed the population of our country. There was a widespread hunger and malnutrition in the country. The agriculture sector was desperately waiting for a reform. A large section of the population was directly dependent on the farming activities. In order to tame the situation and improve the production of food grains, government adopted two prolonged strategies. A. Institutional reforms such as land reforms, irrigation and power projects as long-term and sustainable strategy. B. The import of food grains to feed the populace. After studying this module, we shall be able to know the reasons behind the implementation of the technological reforms in agriculture in India. Understand the new agricultural strategy or Green Revolution. Understand the achievement and limitations of Green Revolution. The future prospects of Green Revolution. New thrust areas of the Indian agriculture. Need for second Green Revolution. Remedy to agrarian distress. Let us now understand the new agricultural strategy and Green Revolution. Nonetheless, Indian agriculture witnesses a growth rate of 3% between 1949 and 1965. Our country had been facing food shortages. India was in the throes of crisis. Agricultural growth have begun to stagnate in the early 1960s. The massive population burden further exacerbated the problem. The rising food prices and the rising cases of hunger death forced our government to resort to import food from abroad. India made agreement with US to import wheat under PL 480 scheme in 1956. Nearly 3 million tons of food grain were imported under this scheme in the very first years, and volumes of import kept increasing over the years. The wars with China in 1962 and Pakistan in 1965 and the two successive droughts years in 1965-66 further worsened the problems. The nightmare does not end here. US wanted India to support on Vietnam War return of import of food grains from his country. It was a direct attack on the sovereignty of any country. India was against the war. US were facing severe criticism for waging war against Vietnam. Given this scenario of the mid-1960s, economic self-reliance and particularly the food self-reliance became the top priority. The new agriculture strategy began to be implemented in the right earnest. In common parlance, new agriculture strategy refers to adoption of high-yielding variety crops with more irrigation facilities and fertilizers usages. A team of experts sponsored by Ford Foundation was invited by the Government of India to suggest ways and means to increase the agricultural production and productivity. Team submitted its report in April 1956 suggesting emphasis on the modern agricultural inputs. On the basis of the recommendations of the team, our government introduced an intensive development program in 7 districts selected from 7 states in 1960, and program was named Intensive Area Development Program, that is IADP. The program was later extended to remaining states by selecting one district from each state on an experimental basis during the third plan. G.S. Bhalla rightly commented that IADP implemented during the Nehru's life but realized after his death. It is pertinent to mention that Norman Borlaug and his associates developed new high-yielding variety for wheat in Mexico during 1960s and later adopted by a number of countries including India. It led to substantial increase in production and productivity of wheat. In the context of India, the contribution of M.S. Swaminathan is exceptional. He is dubbed as the father of Green Revolution in India. He is a geneticist and international administrator who made tireless attempts to develop Indianized high-yielding varieties of wheat. His stated vision is to make the world free of hunger and poverty. Swaminathan is an advocate of moving India's sustainable development, especially using environmentally sustainable agriculture, sustainable food security and pervasive of biodiversity, which he calls an evergreen revolution. This new agricultural strategy, also known as seed water fertilizer strategy, was adopted in 1966. The new strategy primarily introduced more. It was introduced in 7 selective areas, which includes Inter Alia, West Godavari in Andhra Pradesh, Shahabad in Bihar, Raipur in Madhya Pradesh, Tanjavur in Tamil Nadu, Ludhiana in Punjab, Aligarh in UP and Pali in Rajasthan. The strategy focused on improved water supply, greater use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides. Mechanization of agriculture was not part of the strategy, although it led to an increased use of tractors and other machines. This is so because the strategy was supposed to be neutral to scale, and machine are not divisible inputs and hence not neutral to scale. Most of the inputs were purchased inputs and hence the role of cash was critical to the adoption of this strategy. New agricultural strategy lead to the following achievements. Let us discuss them in detail. Boost to the production of cereals. With the adoption of new technology in agriculture, production of food grains, particularly wheat and rice, has increased. Adoption of modern technology in agriculture led to a rise in the production of wheat followed by rice. Growth in output till 1990-91 was due mainly to the growth in productivity more than growth in acreage. In the 1990, for the two crops, productivity growth slowed down and growth in area accelerated, but there was a reversal of these trends in the period after 2000-2001 to 2011-2012. However, the spread of Green Revolution remained confined wheat and rice. There has been virtually no impact on the coarse cereals like jawar and bajra, etc. Pulses and oilseeds production remained stagnant throughout the period. Similarly, no new technology was available for the cash crops. Now, increase in the production of commercial crops. In the first phase of the introduction of new technology, production of cash crops or commercial crops such as sugarcane, cotton, jute, oilseeds, etc. was not affected. After 1973-74, modern technology was introduced in other crops whereby these crops registered robust growth. Now, significant changes in the cropping pattern. The cropping pattern in India has undergone significant change due to effect of Green Revolution. The proportion of rice in the total food grains has declined. It has been due to the rapid rise in the production of wheat. Similarly, the pulses proportion also has shown substantial decline. The coarse cereals proportion has also declined from 37% to 17%. Next, boost to agricultural production and employment. The new agricultural strategy adopted involved the use of high yield variety of crops, chemical fertilizers, irrigation, improved technology, pesticides, etc., which has resulted in higher level of output. Demand for hired labor has also increased. Next, forward and backward linkage strengthen. It is established fact that there is a close demand-supply linkage between agriculture and industry. An improvement in the agricultural production means higher income for the farmers. This generates higher demand for manufactured products, which in turn promotes investment in industry. In return, industry provides inputs by developing new implements and tools for the agriculture. The agro-based industries depend on the agricultural sector for their main raw material. There were certain limitations of the new agricultural strategy. Introduction of modern technology in agriculture has made India self-sufficient in food grains to a larger extent. Increase in the output have been more due to the improvement in productivity than in the increase in acreage. In order to fully reap the benefits of the modern technology in agriculture, the government should have played a complementary role by undertaking a sustained level of public investment in infrastructure, marketing and storage of agricultural produce and ensured provisions of institutional credit to ease the adoption of new technology for cash-strapped farmers. This is the reason that the benefits of Green Revolution have been distributed more in favor of large farmers than small and marginal or the medium farmers. Not only has the distribution of benefits across farmers been asymmetric, but also it has been skewed across the regions and crops. Intensive use of pesticides and fertilizers has resulted in soil and water pollution, which in turn has a negative impact on the health and local population. Next is the Indian agriculture is still a gamble in monsoon. The new technology is also known as seed water fertilizer package and depends on assured water supply for the best results. However, vast tracts of agricultural land are still deprived of irrigational facilities and depend on rains. As a result, in the year of good monsoon, there is a bumper crop, and if the rains fails, we have a lean crop. In 1950-51, gross irrigated area as a percentage of gross cropped area was only 17%. Despite the massive investment in irrigation projects over the planning period, gross irrigated area has increased from 45% in 2009 and 10. Thus, even now 55% of the gross cropped areas depends on rains. That is why Indian agriculture is called a gamble in monsoon. Next, growth of capitalist farming. The new agricultural strategy, although neutral to scale, has an important aspect which does not allow small and marginal farmers to reap its benefits. The three critical inputs need to be purchased from the market as they are not available within the rural households. This requires cash, which is a problem for the small and marginal farmers. Given the paucity of institutional credit, only the large farmers manage to have access to high yielding variety seeds, fertilizers and an assured water supply. This has been further complicated by the capacity of the large farmers to mechanize various farm activities which is not neutral to scale. This results in a larger share of marketable surplus and hence agricultural income in the hands of large farmers. This enhances their ability to implement the new technology and appropriate its benefits further. Thus, new technology, in other words, only the big farmers have financial ability to undertake investment in the modern technology. Consequently, income inequalities between small and big farmers have widened over time. Next, neglect of institutional reforms. New agricultural strategy has not laid stress on the institutional reforms. As a result, land reforms have not been able to implement properly and thus remain a distant dream. Other areas of neglect include provisions of irrigation works, institutional credit, insurance, marketing and warehousing facilities. Our policy makers thought that Green Revolution would be a panacea for all evils in agriculture, but it was proved ill-conceived idea. Next, widening disparities in income. Technological changes in Indian agriculture have resulted in greater income inequalities. C.H. Hanumantha has opined technological changes have contributed to widening the disparities in income between small and large farmers and between landowners on the one hand and the landless on the other. Next, problems of labor displacement. Under the garb of Green Revolution, mechanization of agricultural activities has resulted in the displacement of labor. However, a number of agricultural experts believe other way round. C.H. Hanumantha Rao brings out favorable and unfavorable effects of new technology on employment. If the Green Revolution is regarded as a package consisting of high yielding varieties and fertilizers, its contribution to employment has been substantial. However, the net use of tractors may turn out to be negative. Next, impact on socio-economic relations in the rural areas. A number of studies have been done on the impact of Green Revolution on the socio-economic relations in India. The studies may be summarized as follows. A. Small and medium farmers have benefited the least. They have very small holdings. These farmers invested a little in the farms. Hence, increase in the production is also very little. Sometimes these farmers take land on lease from the large farmers and cultivate on them. But high rentals leave them with the pittance amount of grains. Large farmers with surplus capital to invest have benefited the most from the Green Revolution. V.K.R.V. Rao once said that it is now well known that the so-called Green Revolution, which helped the country to raise its output of food grains, has also been accompanied by a widening of the range of inequality in rural incomes, the loss of their status as tenants by a number of small farmers, and emergence of social and economic tensions in the countryside. The challenges which the Indian agriculture faces is not only of production but also that of distribution, and in our anxiety to concentrate on production problems, we should not forget the human and social implications of the agricultural developments. Let us now study the future prospects of Green Revolution. Green Revolution was initiated in mid-1960s with the objective of improving the production and productivity of agricultural produce. The success of Green Revolution is discernible to all. India's agricultural production has increased by multiple times and we have become self-reliant in food grains. The key role has been played by the high yield varieties along with the chemical fertilizers, pesticides and irrigational facilities. Nowadays, a number of agricultural scientists have been talking about the exhaustion of potential of new agricultural strategy, and they suggest need to do new to improve the production and productivity further. The future prospects in Indian agriculture may be underlined in the following manner. A. Despite the use of modern technology in agriculture, productivity in Indian agriculture is still very low. Our productivity in comparison to the developed countries is quite low. Hence, Indian policy makers must focus on increasing the productivity of agriculture sector. B. Even within the Indian economy, there is a gap between potentials and actual. There is no denying the fact that after the Green Revolution, total production and productivity in agriculture has increased, but there is an ample scope to improve it further. The above table reveals that the actual productivity is far below the potential. C. As we have studied earlier, that spread of Green Revolution has been skewed, confined to Punjab, Haryana and Western UP. These areas benefited from high yield varieties of crops because they had ample facilities of irrigation and other relevant inputs. However, the rest of the country could not avail of the benefits of Green Revolution. It is a formidable challenge before the policy makers to spread the benefit to the other parts of the country. Most challenging task would be to bring the Green Revolution to the rain-fed areas of the country. A vast tracts of land in India fall under these categories. These rain-fed areas have huge potentials to increase the total production and productivity. D. Contract farming in the Indian agriculture may bring high-tech inputs due to corporate players. However, it remains to be seen whether the farmers would also get a remunerative price for their produce. The potential of contract farming has not been utilized. E. More public investment in agriculture is the key to promote more private investment. F. Insurance in agriculture is absent. At the current junction of climate change, the vagaries of monsoon and the brunt of weather has to be borne by the farmers. Here insurance can play the role of savior. G. Despite the government's efforts to the presence of middlemen in agriculture has not been reduced. These middlemen buys the grains and other crops, especially the perishable vegetables and fruits, at throwaway prices and sell the same at a very high prices and high margin in the urban areas. Thus, on the one hand, the producer or the farmer fails to benefit from getting a price which will help him recover his cost and induce him to remain in the agriculture. On the other hand, the consumer in the non-agricultural sector, at the mercy of these middlemen, end up facing the brunt of food inflation, curtailing their purchasing power for the other manufactured products. This has a direct implication for the demand for these products and industrial recession. Regulated and cooperative marketing are important steps that the government can take, but there is still a long way to go. H. Credit facilities are also a crucial missing link. Large farmers manage to appropriate a large share of institutional credit, whereas the small and marginal farmers fail to benefit from any concessional loan facility as they cannot furnish the requisite collateral. Hence, they have to resort to the local money lenders or the informal loan providers. They charge exorbitantly high interest rates. Generations after generations remain indebted to the money lenders. Such extent of exploitation and dearth of institutional credit adversely affects the private investments in the farm development. Moving on to discuss the second green revolution in India. While the first green revolution was to ensure food security as there was severe scarcity of food in the country, the second green revolution should aim at creating sustainable livelihood security for the poor and eradication of poverty by generating gainful self-employment. While the first green revolution was aimed at undertaking mass production, the second green revolution should be able to promote production by the masses. This is in line with the Gandhian philosophy of involving the poor in development for equitable distribution of our prosperity. Thrust areas for second green revolutions are as follows. A. Second green revolution may focus on fruits and vegetables, can double agricultural growth to 4% per year. B. Contract farming may be the key module operandi. It has potential to attract from corporate capital and technology. It could also ensure handsome remunerative prices for the laborers and the farmers. Land reforms laws ban corporates from farming, but contract farming is possible. Corporates contract to provide high-tech farm inputs on credit and lift the output at guaranteed prices. The biggest rural initiative comes from ITC, whose e-chopals cover over lakhs of villages over the period accounting for 2/3 of rural GDP. E-chopas are electronic buying and selling centers which also provides information to the farmers on the prices, weather and scientific farming practices. By cutting out the middlemen, e-chopas can pay farmers a higher price than they get in mandis, yet lower ITC's procurement costs. The company started with soya beans, wheat and shrimps, and it is now diversifying into oilseeds, spices and fruits. Field Fresh, run by Sunil Mittal of Bharti Telecom, already has 1,000 acres under horticulture in Punjab. Pepsi and McDonald's have also started contract cultivation of citrus fruit and lettuce respectively. But these illustrations are baby steps and a lot more needs to be done. C. Back-end infrastructure development would be a formidable challenge for the government. There is a huge shortage of warehousing resulting in the wastages of food grains. India is facing dearth of supply chain. As a result, deficit regions do not benefit from surplus regions. Rural India needs warehousing facilities for storing produce. At present, only a few warehousing facilities are present. Warehousing, cold storage and logistic network need huge investment, and that is the vital missing link in the conventional system, leading to the huge crop losses. Here again, the organized retail along with government or the public sector agencies is expected to pump capital to augment capacity. A better policy operation would be to have the new overseas players mandated to invest a proportion of their capital for augmenting our warehousing, supply chain, logistic through a public-private partnership model. The augmenting of logistics capacity will in turn benefit the entire stakeholders in the agricultural supply chain. D. The second green revolution should focus on generation of employment for the small and marginal farmers and the landless while enhancing the agricultural production. As these families mostly own degraded and low fertile lands deprived of irrigation, the focus should be on efficient use of such lands. As such lands are not suitable for intensive cropping of high yielding food and cash crops, priority should be given to dry land, horticulture and agri-silvi pastures. Traditionally, Indian farmers engage in livestock tending and management to supplement their income. However, livestock caring is not done in scientific manner. As a result, sometimes it becomes their liability rather than an asset. The need of time is to improve and promote livestock with some professionalism and technology. E. To ensure better result involving rural masses, particularly those at the bottom of the pyramid, is necessary to build the capabilities of the participant farmers, particularly the women. As they are semi-literate with lack of confidence, it is necessary to provide mentoring services at their doorsteps by posting well-trained para-extension workers selected within the community. So, while the potential for a second green revolution is huge, the hurdles are high too. High-tech farmers with assured irrigation will surely link up with the best companies, but the progress will be slow in rain-fed areas, and for small and marginal farmers. Here, government has to play proactive role to materialize second green revolution in letter and spirit. Let us now summarize what we have studied in this module. At the time of independence, India was not self-reliant for food, has to be imported. Food deficit compelled the government to undertake technological reforms to ensure food for all. Land reforms could meet the expectation. New agricultural strategy based on high yielding variety crops results in the higher production and productivity. However, green revolution was confined to a limited area, hence it benefited a few farmers for few crops in few regions. Now it is the high time to make an effort to bring in second green revolution. Second green revolution primarily focuses on sustainable agriculture and livestock. Climate change is posing formidable challenges to food security. These challenges can be met by sustainable agriculture.